Parul here, your usual host for this podcast, life and leadership coach, and founder of Boost Your Confidence Academy. So, as you all know, everything we do in this channel to support and help individual to thrive from whatever challenges they're having in life. Now, today I have a guest interview. She is from India, Meher Parul Nagar. You met Meher before. We did a number of different series of topics, and today we're gonna have talking about another series of topics. But first of all, let me introduce to you Meher. Meher, welcome on board, and thank you very much for giving us your time today.
Thank you so much, Parul, for this. I was waiting for this to happen and it took some time. I think we have been discussing for a good time and then we finally got it here to record it. And I was so much waiting for this series, to be honest, because I feel that a lot of us aren't sure what is generational trauma, how it feels like. So I feel it is need of the hour for a
Absolutely.
lot of us.
Absolutely. So a bit about Meher, as you know her before. So Meher is a complex post-traumatic uh, post-traumatic disorder stress expert. Yeah, so it's CPTSD is a long title, I know. She's expert. She also multiple survivor of abuse, and what Meher does now is she helps others with her expertise, with her own experience that she's been through. Um, she she specializes especially on generational and parental trauma. She's got special healing method, so she used somatic healing method to support people. And she used that for her own healing. And when it worked for her, now she used the similar method to help somebody else because Meher believes she's got a gift and she needs to share it. So we're here to share Meher gifts. So, Meher, do you want to add anything else about yourself before we go into topic?
I think I'm a CPTSD survivor too. First of all, I always say that to others that whenever I say something, don't consider that to me as an expert. Please consider me as a survivor first, then an expert, because being a survivor and then being an expert makes me feel not just proud, yeah, but it also makes me realize that, until you don't go through something, you don't feel what others are feeling. You can't get it. Like, it's very easy for many of us to, I'm not here to put anybody down, but I will be very honest because that's why I do what I do, right? To say things the way they are and not to glorify it. So I see a lot of people who are into this business of coaching and mentoring, specifically CPTSD. I'm talking about. I'm not talking about anything else. The work I do, multi abuse thing. And because I work with human trafficking survivors as well, and a lot of it, I have realized a lot of people say, "Yeah, we know what you're going through, what it feels like," but they don't get it, right? So whatever we are gonna share here, whatever it will be about, as you said, yes, it is something which is coming up from my own experience, but it is also coming up from whatever I have learned in these years through my experience while working with others.
Absolutely great point you mentioned, Meher, is you're not just expert, you bring in your experience, and that's how you become expert because the feeling. You can feel with people, and that is empathize because that is so important because you have your expert, then you have your own experience. And when you have your own experience, you can understand what people go through, and I think that makes you a different person because you can feel the pain people go through, but you survive, not just survive, you are thriving now because you want to help others. So welcome on board. Now today's topic, we'll be talking about generational trauma. Now Meher, why you decided to focus on generational trauma? What came into your mind when you were thinking, oh, I want to talk about generational trauma?
As I started off with the same thing, I so wanted to do this. It is need of the hour. First thing, Parul. A lot of people are speaking about it. I don't deny it. I have heard people coming up on interviews, podcasts, speaking about it. But having said that, I feel there is still a lack of education and awareness about it, around it. Because of lack of education and awareness, people are not accepting it. A lot of denial also comes in picture. Having said that, we don't realize, okay, I have been in that space, to be honest, wherein I thought that, okay, I've healed enough. I don't need any no more healing. I don't need no more work to be done on me. It's not needed, and I was wrong. I was completely wrong about myself. And that's where a lot of us struggle as well. We assume that we are good, we don't need no help, no support, and we are still struggling with a lot of it. And we assume, okay, I'm just gonna change my belief system, my core values, and it will be all good. I don't believe that just by changing your belief system and core values you can get over something which has been passed on to you for generations, right? And that too, not just, generations, I mean, through your inside your body, through DNA, definitely we know about that, through a lot of medical diseases and everything, but outside as well, in a lot of way trauma patterns are evidently visible, evidently. If you're going to go out and speak about some topic, you're going to get same point of view, you're going to get same review about that. Okay, and people will be talking same, and you'll be like, oh, everybody cannot be wrong, oh, everybody cannot be this, and probably it is something you need to work on, blah blah blah. And that's a perception you have been made to believe. So one of the ways how generational trauma has been normalized, right? We just see it, oh, this is how it has been going, everybody cannot be wrong. One way. Second thing, generational trauma is also like, uh yeah, example, basic, I'm just gonna give basic examples and patterns so that we can correlate with our normal life.
Okay,
Okay.
Meher, before you talk about that, let me ask you, what is generational trauma?
Yeah, as I answered that. So generational trauma is something which has been passed down uh, into you through trauma patterns or DNA in various ways, and it has been passed on through your generations, not one generation, like generations. Okay, and because it has been passed on through generations, uh, we may consider that our entire community is going through that. It's not only
Okay,
me.
got it. And you, yeah.
It's not only you as an individual. We all of us are in there. For example, spiritual abuse. All right. A lot of us don't want to speak about spiritual abuse because they think there'll be a lot of patriarchy, politics, this, that. Why? Why aren't we we should be talking about generation, spiritual abuse. We should be talking about human trafficking. We should be talking about not just gender bias abuses, which a lot of us are doing a lot of work on, gender bias violence abuses, blah blah blah. But we should be also talking about how rape has still been, you know uh, it's still a huge taboo, whether the rape happens with the men or women. I work with both of them. I have heard stories from both the sides, but it's still a taboo for both of them in their own ways, right? So it has nothing to do with gender. If I see rape happening to a men or women, it has nothing to do with gender, but still they have their own challenges, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So so a lot of generational trauma, as I said, comes with all of it: spiritual abuse, political abuses, a lot of it, which politics also brings in on our table, and we have to just take the hit of it and take that because we have no option, because we think that's the only way out, right? Financial abuses, we all know it. Everyone is talking about it. Sexual, physical, other abuses, everyone is talking about it. But are we talking about trauma pattern like venting out emotions. Okay, it's a very very common trauma pattern. You will agree because it's very common. Like I am stressed out, I'm gonna yell on you, I'm gonna shout at my kids and children and anybody who comes in my way, and then I'm gonna feel bad about it, feel sad that why did I do it, or maybe I'm just gonna brush it, or maybe I will accept it and brush it. So we all have different ways to deal with it, but it's there.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
there. So I'm just, if you're fine with that, I'm just gonna share one quick example of generational, how it's been normalized. Oh, you have been through so many things. You have been a very strong and brave lady all this while. You will get through it. No, it's a trauma pattern. Nobody can be strong or brave or um anything every time. None of us can be. it's it's not about the belief, as I said. Remember, I told you, it's not about belief. These things cannot go away by beliefs or having strong core values or whatever, because even though we might have strong core values and everything, still abuse happens, still trauma happens, still torture happens, isn't it? So, why the question should be, why is it still happening? The question should be, why is it still bothering me? Why am I doing what I'm doing even now? So yeah,
Okay. 2 points I'm going to take from there. One is you talked about behavior, yeah, men, women, and they, because they got their own issues, they then put their stress on somebody else, yeah, whether they are men and women. And I've seen that a lot on my work, relatives, men and women. It's not just men who lash out. I've seen women lashing out on other women. Yeah, it's
absolutely.
because they got the trauma. They got the trauma they've been holding back, and that trauma then and is it great. I think it's a great topic here. And then that the trauma, even I've seen older women lashing out their older children, I mean grown up children, and those grown up children behaving same way to their children or their partner, because it's generation they inherited that. But people don't need to stay on the inheritance. People can change. And that's why I was saying, Meher, yes, the trigger will come, but it's up to us how we behave, what we do to change the, something to change the behavior in our head. So we do not behave same way as how people behaved with us. And I think that's where people actually struggle, that because people are not equipped to deal with that. They've been through it, so they're doing it to somebody else. And even if they learn it, they need to learn in a way that they can change the state of mind, the state they're in, so they don't end up abusing somebody else. So absolutely great point. I mean, when you start talking about, I can easily see all this thing I've seen. And I just thought, like all this pattern on people. Yeah, there's so many examples popping on my mind that easily I can see how people behavior. I mean, we both Asian. We can even just talking from Asian perspective. I've seen parents like elderly parents lashing out on their older children, like who harsh out, screaming, blah blah blah, and their children doing that to their family, their individual family, because they think is, you talk about normalizing, they think is normal. It is
Absolutely.
not normal. You
Absolutely.
can change. You don't have to behave same way your parents behaved with you. You can behave better way with your children, your spouse, whether your wife or husband, either way. I mean, it comes from both perspectives. I've seen in both genders. Both in both genders. So yeah, great subject, Meher. I'm glad we're talking about these generational trauma issues. Okay, so you gave some examples how it looked like. Now my other question was going to be, we talked about father wounds, mother wounds, family wounds. So can you go a bit more on That is generational trauma, similar to the wounds we talked about in our last series. We talked about several different wounds.
So I'm gonna answer two of your questions, to be honest, Parul. I didn't mention that I'm a somatic healer because I remember I told you that I assumed that I'm healed, that but later I got to realize that I'm not. Is when I got into somatic healing. I'm not a coach. I don't even consider myself into a coaching thing because, as you said, when all of this gets inside your brain and your body and everything, you just cannot stop your trigger. You just can't stop your behavior or attitude or whatsoever, right? And a lot of us struggle with that. I completely agree that we do it, and there are a lot of people who are very conscious about it and that they feel very guilty of it and they feel ashamed. And a lot of it goes, inside of them, but they can't come up and speak about it because it's a taboo again. If I'm gonna go and say sorry, what others will think. If I'm gonna be like this, what they will think. I know we are getting out of people pleasing mode even after doing our therapeutic work and been to therapists or coaches for our trauma healing and everything. Having said that, this particular trigger of just not able to stop this whatever is happening is itself a trigger that we have a tendency. One more thing I want to highlight, and it's there in most of the places, is that until nothing worse is gonna happen, we don't take things seriously. We just take it too casually. If you see COVID, initially we took it so casually, and when things went worse is when we took things extremely seriously. So that is also one of the patterns a lot of us have. And coming up to coming up to these wounds, what you asked me, is it similar to generational trauma? Kind of yes, but no. Because a lot of us have been working on parental trauma. Okay, I had mother wound, I had father wound, I had sibling wound, this happened, that happened. Um, all of that is there in a lot of parts, but not in subcontinent. Even now, let's be honest, like even now, if I say somewhere that your parent can be a terrible or horrific one, people do come in back to me and say, no, parents are parents, mother is mother, this is that, this is this. And people don't realize that I'm not saying just because of my experience. I have been working with human trafficking survivors for years and I have heard their stories. And despite their genders, their own parents human traffic them, their own parents sell them, their own parents, sibling, their own blood relation do that with them. Correct? So it's not just those wounds we are talking about, what you asked me, right? It is beyond. It has been going for years. For years, normalizing. No, you cannot say anything against your parent. You cannot do this. It's okay if your parent has done it. I want to share a story, Parul, and it's a true story. Few months ago, I got a message on my messenger saying that this I'm not going to reveal the name. I will just change the name. That a guy named Rahul is in problem and he's in Ajmer. I'm going to keep the place name as it is. Won't change a lot of details though. I got a message on in my and I got this message and I'm like, okay, please tell me how shall I help you, because that's what I do. That's where we do what we do, right? And I asked this, and then from the other hand, there's this lady. I am not sure was it she was fake or what, but I believe she was honest, because a lot of details she shared about even herself was shocking. They were shocking. And I'm gonna share a little bit because I feel that's why we are doing what we are doing, because this lady comes up and she says he's like my son And I just, he's like my son, he's stuck. You live in India. Can you do something about it? Can we do something about it? Blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, please tell me in whole what happened, how it happened. Shared few details. She didn't share completely. Now, hiding out some details for your own benefit is also a sign of generational trauma, which has been passed on through our parents. We assume, okay, my parent is doing. No, it's not only your parent. Your parents' parent was also doing that, or maybe they also learned from their generation, and that's how it has been passed on. That's why we say it's generational trauma. She actually hid few details to um, save herself, but she couldn't. I always believe that you cannot hide truth. It comes out
Absolutely.
one day, maybe
Absolutely.
tomorrow. Yeah, you
Hmm.
you just can't help it. So she tried her best to do it, but I said I want to speak with the survivor. She wanted me to speak with the survivor, but I'm sorry if there are some trigger warnings here if anybody is gonna get triggered or something. But I'm gonna be honest at the same time. Yeah. See, she wanted me to speak with the survivor for a long time, but she said he can only speak in the washroom. I said, I am not going to see him nude.
Hmm.
He's a man, and I'm not allowed to. I am not someone who, I'm not intent. Sorry. She said, but he has no option because he's been human trafficked and he's been physically, mentally, emotionally abused, and he's there and all of that. I said, I don't know, you do whatever, you tell him I don't want to see him nude. Only then I'm gonna speak. Somehow we got together, decided to do this, and I get to speak with the survivor. Now, this is a survivor story I'm talking about. When I got to speak with this man, he's 29 years old. He's still being human trafficked at this point in time when we are speaking. He's There's a lady who's 60, 65 plus. She's a well-known lawyer who has trafficked her, and she has a lot of money, so they can't do much about it. She does saffron business, and whenever he goes and pulls out saffron and does works for like 9 hours or whatever hours, he's not supposed to wear clothes. Initially he was supposed to, but later he was told not to wear any clothes. So technically he's working without it. And when I wanted to ask more about it, why this, that, and I realized that there's one more caretaker who's a lady again. Okay, I know their names, but I won't share that. I'm gonna hide that again. It happens that that lady, the caretaker got her a daughter actually one day, and she's not even 16, maybe around 16, maybe around that. And they had some discussion, and he slapped her. She got so mad at him that now they are abusing him physically, mentally, emotionally, and every single way. And the reason I'm sharing this story is because we need to understand it's not just about human trafficking. It's We need to understand what is generational trauma. I got pissed at someone, so I'm gonna go back to my boss, to that 65 plus old lady, and say, this guy is this, you punish him this way, you do this to him, that to him, taking revenge, doing things to the level of cruelty, brutality. Yeah. And it has been normalized over the years. If we see our history, you are going to see so many signs, and that's why we are still fighting with human trafficking. Such an important topic, most of us don't want to speak about. We don't want to know the details. We don't want to hear the stories. We just want to hide out. We cannot. I have learned from my experience. I cannot get over something until I see things the way it is.
Absolutely. Meher,
So
I know, you share a bit details, which is horrific, and that's something, is called modern day slavery, isn't it? Even in modern days, they using, and both used by men and women. It's happened in
yeah,
both genders, as you mentioned, and it's still happening in developed countries too. Modern day
absolutely.
slavery happening is not just Asia and developed countries, but it's also happening in developed countries, Middle East, Western world. We've seen it, and it's really important topic. So I think it's two things to our audience. We're discussing a sensitive topics, and if you're hearing if it's affecting, please contact you can contact me or your local organization. There are organizations locally, whichever country you're based in, there is always organization. We go Google now, helps us to search, find local organization who can support you, who can listen to you. So don't ignore it. And coming back to the point, Meher, yes, is generational abuse and generational trauma, because they've been abused, they've been seen how to abuse, they're doing it to others. Yeah. But it's important to keep raising it. We don't know when it's going to be eliminated, but not talking about mean we putting it under the carpet. So therefore it's really important that we keep talking. Yes, as individual we help people when people reach out, but there is so many of them. So if anybody listening, please do reach out for help. Don't suffer in silence. So what if you don't have money? You working doesn't mean you have to get abused. You working, you giving a labor, you get paid. You're not supposed to get abused. So it's really important to look after yourself. And there's so many stories. I think Meher just shared one just to give us an example of modern day slavery, generational abuse, human trafficking, how this works. But there is many cases which we don't, obviously coaches don't talk about because it's individual cases, but that's just an example. So, Meher, thank you for sharing your example of generational trauma, also whether it's similar to father wound or mother wounds. We talked about a lot. If anybody interested on knowing about all those family wounds, father wound, mother wound, sibling wound, you can find the videos on this YouTube channel, which me and Meher talked about a few years back. So have a look on that. So, Meher, I know we're going to be talking about generational trauma in different parts. So we're going to wrap up soon. But what I want to say is this is part one. We're looking at we talked about what it is, how it looked like, and you talked about a bit of a pattern, yeah, which we'll talk more on next one. Now, can you kind of give us a summary of it, and we will then tidy up today's part.
Yeah. So I just missed a few details which were
Sure.
important, but I do want to share that as well.
Okay. Yeah.
When I spoke with that survivor guy over the call, I also got to realize that his parents have sold him for money because they had huge debt. So I have seen this, and the reason I'm specifically speaking about it because I have heard a lot of people saying, yeah, we know about women getting into prostitution for the same reason or getting into sex slavery or sexual abuses or whatever because of the same reason. But we want to also deny a lot of abuses which happen to men. Okay. And I want to speak. Yes, I am highlighting a point on gender bias abuses and everything, but it's not there only for women. It's there for men as well. It's there for both of them. And I think we need to see both of them because that's why we work for humans, right? We are here and we say human trafficking or human rights or whatever. So I think this whole generational trauma isn't just about human trafficking or gender bias abuses and things like that. It's beyond. You said so many things. Slavery. It is about not giving basic rights to a human. I mean, I have seen people. who abuse others just because they don't have money, power, status. Excuse me, just because somebody doesn't have something at this point in time or whatever, nobody has a right to put the other person down, right? The way we want us to be appreciated or seen the way we are, we shouldn't be doing the same thing. And the moment we say this, people get hurt. People feel uh, people feel that it's personal. You shouldn't have said it. You have objectified or labeled us or whatever. You are generalizing everybody's bad. No, I think the whole idea to do this series is to not just raise awareness what is generational trauma, how it looks like, what you need to do, but it is also about why we should heal as a community. I feel there is a lot of need for us to heal as a community. Only then this whole world will become a place for us to live, else it is only gonna go worse. You see anywhere, like so many people are suffering. So many innocent people are
Absolutely.
somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we will talk about more about healing in other parts. Great point. So keep that in mind. But you just brought to my attention few points. First of all, I know you talked about people get abused for money and power because they got money and power, they can abuse our. But we've also talked about, we've also seen it's not just people who have money and power, they abuse other people. People who have money and power also get been abused by their family members. So it's
Absolutely.
all about generation because that's what they've seen, therefore, or they've been experienced, therefore they do that to their family members. So it's a complex, it's very complex issue, man, we're talking about because
Abs-
it's happened to every society, every
yes,
community, every religion. Yeah.
absolutely.
And abuse, we've seen war-torn countries go worse during war for both, for men and women. And coming back to your gender point, men don't come out as women. Women talk about or visible because it happen more to women than men generally, but men don't talk about it. And I mean, if you, I don't know whether you've seen my book, Centuries of Innocence, I've written last year with my friend Sarah, and I've used quite a lot of example. One of the example of a man, a married man who was getting abused by his uncle from an early age, and his abuse continued um, after even his marriage, but he would not talk about his wife or his parents. But his wife realized and tried to help him. So that's one of the example I use. So it's happened every society. I mean, last
Abs-
week I saw a news flash. This girl killed her father and then called the police. When I read the story, that was shocking because when her mom died, and that's it happened in Asia, her mom died, her dad started to abuse her sexually and physically from a child. When she grew up, she reported him. He was in sentence and he served long time. When he came out, he found her. She was an adult child. She started
oh,
to abuse her again. She couldn't, as we talk about trauma, she could not take it anymore. She killed him. So we can see how trauma and how generational trauma can take people's life.
absolutely. I told you, yeah, the revenge part, it's okay to have the feeling of revenge or anger or whatever in to an extent. The reason I highlighted the point healing in our first series is to give a little heads up to people what they're gonna listen, or all of this will be about. But it's okay to have those feelings, but only to an extent, not to an extent that I always say, if you're gonna kill someone, what is the result? And I'm not against that girl. I think even I would, if I would have been there in her place, I would have also killed him, to be honest. And I'm not gonna deny that, because it's too much. It's too much to hold on and not go
Mental
and
health,
say that.
yeah, is mental health. She's a trainer and she had no
Yeah,
support. So,
Yeah, and I think honestly, one thing I want to highlight, generational trauma isn't just mental health, it is physical health.
yeah,
So whenever
everything.
people don't understand what is generational trauma, I say, do you know diseases like thyroid, BP, diabetes? Do you agree all these are generational diseases? They say, yeah, we got it from our through our parents and grandparents. I said the way you get these diseases, the same way you get these traumas as well, correct? So the easiest way to understand what is generational trauma and how it looks like is this. The way you get all of these diseases, the very reason you get these diseases is because of generational trauma.
Oh, thank you. That's a fantastic summary, Meher. You summarized it very well. Just to give people an idea what generational trauma is. So, as Meher mentioned, we'll be talking. We're going to look at bit more on pattern on next series, but also we'll bring in. We'll talk about healing and support services. So we'll have a couple of more series. We'll talk about different angles, and you'll get more information. And thank you very much, Meher.
Thank you so much.
What if you were to leave a point with our audience, last comment, what you like to mention, what do you want to say to people?
I think ignorance isn't a bliss. People think that I was just gonna ignore these things, move on with my own life, that won't help because today you're ignoring, tomorrow it will be your day. I'm sorry, this is harsh. We don't mean evil to no one, but this is how it is, right? We have been ignoring so many abuses, which has become trauma, and now it has become torture for a lot of them. It's all because we have learned to ignore and pretend that I don't care, it doesn't matter, it's not happening in my house, who cares? And that's how it gets inside our houses silently, and we don't even obviously we don't even learn and realize it until we get to know about it.
Absolutely, an important point, Meher, you raise is a societal problem. Is happening to neighbor doesn't mean not going to happen here. We all need to take collective responsibility
Absolutely.
to support a good cause, to heal the community, to support
Absolutely.
everyone, so that we know we are there for people who are going through suffering. So it's not a single person issue, it's a collective issue, and we should be taking collective responsibility to heal. And that's the way we can heal the world, when we work together, not in isolation. We know there's a lot of things going on around the world, so many suffering going on with war and different things, but people not coming together. There are segregation, and when segregation happen, nothing heals. So we need to work together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. You just said it so correctly, Parul.
Yeah, thank you, Mel. So everyone, please stay tuned and subscribe to this video, and share it, because you never know, you could be helping somebody else. So we'll have a several other series on this topic and more information. So stay tuned. And again, I want to say thank you to Meher for coming down and sharing her expert skills with us and giving some golden nuggets to our audience. Bye from me and bye from Meher for time being.